Good evening and thank you for joining us. I'm Riley McManus. A second strike in 5 years at Ontario's colleges has been avoided. The College Employer Council and the union representing 16,000 college staff came to an agreement to enter into a binding arbitration prior to today's deadline. It came down to the wire for the two sides to come to an agreement, roughly an hour before the midnight deadline. Much like 2017, it would have seen professors, instructors, librarians, and counselors walk off the job. Confederation College Student Union President Ronnie Cassana is thrilled that the students will not have to deal with the disturbance of their education and that the work to rule has ended by faculty.
Students are so grateful and relieved that their classes will not be disrupted by a labor dispute and they can continue work towards their graduation without any interruption. Hopefully, they will put something where they can think of the student needs when they are negotiating and coming into that binding arbitration. And things will be sorted out. That's all I can hope for now.
The binding arbitration will include a neutral arbitrator to build a compromise between the two competing proposals from the both sides. Previously, the union and the CEC had said there were sticking points they would not agree on. Stats Canada has released its latest hate crime statistics, and the local numbers are troubling. The number of hate crimes in Thunder Bay has doubled from 2019 to 2020, and the city now has the 5th highest rate in the country. Lee Noonan has the story.
The city of Thunder Bay saw 1.1 hate crimes per 100,000 people reported to the police in 2020. That's double the year before, but still lower than in 2015 and 17 when they were the highest in the country. These numbers reflect reports made to police, and the actual number of incidents is assumed to be higher. Incidents like the homophobic letter sent to the owners of Bay Village Coffee are examples of hate-based crimes. The Thunder Bay Police Service's Community Inclusion Team tracks hate-related incidents and can connect affected people with resources, such as victim services. Constable Bob Simon says the rate of reporting has a significant impact on trends in hate crime numbers and encourages the public to report hate-related incidents whether or not they believe a crime has occurred.
At least we have it documented, and it may be easier to track down this suspect if it progresses to something more criminal, such as assault or assault with a weapon if they're throwing something.
He recommends asking for the community inclusion team specifically when making a report. Jason Veltri, chair of the Anti-Racism and Respect Advisory Committee, says that no one should be shocked to hear these numbers. The committee's 211 racism reporting hotline has shown increasing rates of racially motivated hate crimes and discrimination in recent years. He says the statistics are important to inform the work of governments and organizations.
We have to be present, we have to be vocal, and we have to call out racism and hate and discrimination when it happens. And we can't be afraid to have tough and real conversations with folks. That's really the hardest part about breaking down barriers, is that when we feel uncomfortable, we have to have those uncomfortable conversations.
Deputy Grand Chief of NAN, Annabette Achnepanuskim, says Indigenous people are likely victims of a high number of those hate crimes.
We hear about a lot of incidents, and I do believe that a lot of people are still hesitating to report these types of crimes. And so I believe that that particular number is underrepresented in terms of hate crimes.
Lee Noonan, TBT News.
A fire last night led to considerable damage to a Southside home. Thankfully, there were no injuries, though the Ontario Fire Marshal will be investigating. The owners of this home on Lynx Crescent got out safely just before Thunder Bay Fire Rescue arrived around 9 p.m. It's too early to tell the cause of the blaze, but it was so strong that it blew out both the front door and windows of the building. A total of 5 pumpers responded, as well as a ladder truck who battled the fire on the exterior of the home before entering and clearing the residence. The investigation will be led by the Ontario Fire Marshal with involvement from Thunder Bay Police and the city's fire department.
It happens all the time. We collaborate, a lot of times with all 3 agencies. So the Ontario Fire Marshals will take the lead on the investigation. Thunder Bay Police will also do an investigation, and Thunder Bay Fire Rescue will assist with whatever's needed.
At this point, it's still unsure how long the investigation will take or when more information will be shared with the public. Premier Doug Ford was in Thunder Bay yesterday to visit the Lactazil mine north of the city to announce his government's new critical mineral strategy, but also he took the time to speak about the local Alstom plant, which is preparing to be hit with another round of layoffs.
And I'll be very frank, if we didn't invest what we did, that plant wouldn't even be open. We invested $171 million in the GO Rail, another $180 million in streetcars. We're going to make sure we support the workers there. They're retooling now. The CEO promised me those 300 jobs are coming back after the tooling.
Ford then visited the Alstom plant yesterday afternoon. The Premier assured Union President Dominique Pasqualino that plenty of work is coming down the pipe, but didn't give specifics about any new contracts. Pasqualino says the morale is low at the plant, with employees' futures still up in the air.
There's a lot of them that are going to get laid off next week. And that's when it's going to start this big layoff where we're going to have under 100 people in the plant in the summer. And, you know, it's a lot of people are really worried about it. The mood in the plant is muted. People are concerned about their futures.
Up to 300 of the plant's 400 workers are set to be laid off at least until the summer. That's when contracts to build 60 new streetcars and refurbish 94 GO Transit cars are set to begin. The COVID-19 outbreak at St. Joseph's Hospital has been declared over by the Thunder Bay District Health Unit, and the number of infected patients at the regional hospital went down today. Ryan Benazzo has the updated numbers.
There are 21 COVID patients at the Regional Health Sciences Center, down from 24 yesterday. The number of ICU patients is unchanged at 6. The hospital is about 97% full, and the ICU is nearly 91% full. Despite the province dropping its mask mandate, masking and screening will stay in place at the hospital for the time being. The Thunder Bay District Health Unit is reporting 79 new cases since Wednesday. There are now 166 active cases across the district. The Northwestern Health Unit has seen a massive increase in cases. There are now 324 infections, way up from 196 2 days ago. 277 of those cases come from the Sioux Lookout Health Hub. The NWHU's test positivity rate has risen to 18.3%. Ryan Benazzo, TBT News.
Ready or not, Ontario is about to enter into a new chapter of COVID-19 recovery. On Monday, people across the province will have the option to ditch the mask in nearly all indoor venues. Thunder Bay's Lakehead Public Schools isn't the only board that tried and failed to have that pushed back in their schools. Scott Lightfoot has the details.
When students in Toronto return to school on Monday, they will no longer be required to wear a mask.
I think it's a little too soon. March break is ending on Sunday, and I think it would be wise to wait and see what happens 2 weeks after that.
Trustees with the TDSB felt the same way and asked the province to pause the removal of masks in schools, given that many students would be returning from March break travel.
We were looking for a little bit of an extension in the timeline to allow for the masking to be a little more gradual, the removal of masking to be more gradual. Anywhere up to 2 weeks even would have been a good compromise.
But the province has rejected that request, so as of Monday, masks in Toronto schools will not be mandated. However, the board is strongly recommending them, and they aren't the only ones.
I would personally really strongly encourage that people keep the masks on, especially in that short period after March break is, kind of finished. A lot of people have been traveling.
As of Monday, face masks will also no longer be required in most public spaces. Both the province and the city will drop masking requirements in most indoor spaces, a move that has divided opinion.
I think it's too early, and I think it's one of the safest things, it's the cheapest things, and yeah, to me it's safe.
I'm excited, actually. I won't lie to you about that. I'm over wearing a mask for the past 2 years.
I'm concerned about it being lifted too soon. I think there's still issues about possible growing cases in Europe and other places. I think masks are a simple, effective way to protect immunocompromised.
I think we've all gone through the journey of getting vaccinated. I think it's just the right thing to do. The rest of the world has moved on, and we should do the same.
But the mask journey won't end for those taking public transportation or visiting long-term care homes or hospitals. Those mandates will stay in place until the end of April.
Scott Lightfoot, CTV News.
A local game shop has come up with a creative way to raise money for humanitarian relief for Ukraine. Game Shelf is auctioning off World War II era Soviet Army figurines. Jessica Clement reports.
The figurines are for Flames of War, which is a tabletop miniatures war game where you recreate battles from World War II. Players are able to paint and model their own miniature army, then face off against an opponent. The value of the set is $450, and the winner will get all the materials necessary to play the game. But why a Soviet army? Assistant manager Mitchell Kadolf says it was just a coincidence, though there was some humor behind anything Soviet supporting Ukraine.
It honestly just came down to what we had. We already have a full Soviet army in store right now, and some of it is partially assembled and painted. I believe it was actually one of the owner's armies.
The Game Shelf is expecting mostly fans of the game to express interest, but they're hoping that anyone who wants to help out Ukraine will bid. The proceeds from the auction will be donated to the Global Giving Ukrainian Crisis Relief Fund, and Kadolf, who's Ukrainian himself, says he thinks it's important to support Ukraine in any way possible.
With everything that's going on right now, it's just, we find it very important to do whatever little bit we can to help people. People are suffering right now, and if we can do a little bit to help them, that's better than doing nothing.
The auction will run until Friday, March 25th, and every day at 9 a.m., the Game Shelf will be announcing the current highest bid. Residents can place a bid through phone call, email, or by messaging their Facebook page. Jessica Clement, TBT News.
For many of us, the warmer temperatures this week are welcome, but over at the local ski slopes, it's become a mad dash to get as many runs in before the end of the season. And like most days at Loch Lomond, 87-year-old Rob Keys is at the front of that line for the chairlift. Kurt Black has the story.
If you've taken to the hills at Loch Lomond at any point over the past 2 decades, you've likely shared the slopes with one Bob Keys. As ever since moving to the area, the Manitouwadge native has made skiing a daily tradition during the winter months, which is why it should not have come as any surprise that instead of a more typical and tame birthday party, the now 87-year-old spent his special day flying down the slopes of Loch Lomond, creating yet another special memory at a hill that has become a second home to Keys.
Oh, it's great being out here with it. They look after the hills in really good shape, and the guys are all great, you know. And most of us are, you know, anywhere from 65 to my age. I'm probably the oldest.
Keys admits skiing wasn't his first sporting love, but when he found himself living outside of Timmins in his early 20s, he decided to make the best of the winter months, sparking a lifelong passion.
Spent a lot of time in a place called Matheson, which is around Kirkland Lake or Timmins area. And what am I going to do there? So in wintertime, it's you have a lot of snow, and so that's where I started.
And though the winter months are coming to an end, expect Keys' passion for the slopes to continue long after the snow melts from the peaks of Loch Lomond. Kurt Black, TBT News.
And that's just an amazing